Hello, everybody, and welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything that revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
Yeah, do you want to timestamp it, James? It seems like we need to timestamp all sorts of stuff these days.
Yes, we should. It is 9:45 a.m. On the 27th of December, Monday, that is.
Yep.
UK time.
We are recording before the end of game week 19. We still have the Newcastle Manchester United game to go this evening.
He hopes.
But then there will be another game week kicking off literally about, what would it be, about 18 hours after that at 3 o'clock on the Tuesday.
Yeah, your math's not bad. It's quite close. 1:30 p.m. deadline now, tomorrow again. Yeah.
So quick turnaround. So much to discuss because obviously we had postponements over the weekend with COVID. We know at least 2 games that are going to be off in game week 20 already. And ended up being a bit of a funny game week. A rubbish game week, I should say, for me.
Do you want to talk about that first?
No, let's just talk about the wider picture.
Let's not talk about your team, no.
I mean, it's not been a great game week so far, but Cristiano Ronaldo tonight could change everything.
Have you got him captain? Have you?
I
mean, yeah, exactly that. I mean, if you still got your captain going tonight, then the week's it's almost like halfway through, isn't it? If he goes off and stuff, you can still have a great week and stuff. Yes, as Suj alluded to, we've got a couple of games we know are off. Arsenal and Wolves is off because of an outbreak at Wolves. And Leeds Villa, we thought would be off because obviously Leeds had postponed their game at Liverpool, and the Premier League made an announcement when they postponed that and the Wolves-Watford fixture. They made a specific comment that they expected the Watford and West Ham game to go ahead. But they didn't say anything about Leeds Villa. So everybody assumed from that Leeds Villa was going to be postponed. I wonder, even like in the case of Wolves and Arsenal yesterday, I wonder if Arsenal knew before the game that the game against Wolves was probably going to be postponed. I wonder, because I was a little bit suspect that they might be rotating some of the team and stuff, because they was playing Norwich and there was none of that. Exactly. So I wonder if they knew, which, as I said previously, I think the fact that Arsenal had scheduled to play at 3 o'clock and then 12:30 2 days later, even I had to admit, like, that wasn't on anyway to be expecting any team to play twice within, not even 48 hours later, but inside 48 hours later. Was a little bit of a joke. At this stage, it's difficult to predict if anything else will go. I guess the biggest out's probably Everton Newcastle, which is on Thursday. So chance of getting any information on that before deadline probably pretty unlikely, unless something happens to Newcastle today, right? If that would give some clarity on the situation, which is a shame actually, because Everton's fixtures are bloody brilliant, for like the next 6 game weeks. They could have back-to-back doubles dropping there in 21 and 22, and it's Newcastle at home next on Thursday. I just don't think you can go there, because I see a lot of people are really tempted to just go straight to Calvert-Lewin now, or Damari Gray, for example. I don't know if either are fit. I don't know if the game's going to happen. So I think that's the one that's the biggest danger. But as I said to you just before we started recording, those teams who have played in the last 24 hours, you don't know if they've picked up a bug or whatever, right? I mean, we know that Palace tried to get the game postponed against Tottenham. What's to say them not giving a load of Tottenham players?
No, it's true.
The illness again, and then the Southampton game. No one knows, right?
No, it's very difficult at the moment. That's I think the most important thing.
You have to be reactionary,
from
an FPL perspective. Yeah.
Well, whatever happens, and just take the rough with the smooth. It could just as easily go the other way,
unless your team gets fucked a minute before deadline. Then.
Well, yeah, then you're really screwed. A lot of people tried to make transfers very close to the deadline, James, and they did. That's exactly what happened.
Well, yeah.
I made my transfers at 1:15 because that's exactly when I pulled into the car park at Westfield.
What would have happened if you'd been late?
No, I was at a night on the time. I would have pulled over.
Would you really? You care that much about FPL? You'd have pulled over, yeah?
Yeah. I would have had to. But I've
seen your team. I'm not sure you should have bothered.
Sonny scored, didn't he? So let's see.
Some people have been burnt really badly on this. I think that those who left it to the real last minute, i.e. 129, were taking a risk, a real risk for the sake of a couple of minutes. I was doing my stream, and at 24 minutes past 1, I said, I've got the transfers in front of me. I'm now going to make the transfers. And if you haven't made your transfers yet, everybody should do the same. And that was not believing that the website was going to go down, because the website should not go down. It's not like there was all 8 million people making transfers or something. No. It really should be able to handle the database now. But just in case, I mean, at 25 past, it was like, shit, man, if something happens in the next 5 minutes, it happens in the next 5 minutes. You see Villa tweeted at exactly 1:30 that the game against Leeds was postponed. Everyone was panicking. They were going to announce that the Chelsea game was off. So, I mean, I've got real sympathy. I think the lesson from that is don't leave it till
the right last minute
deadline. But I mean, that said, like, look, I left it basically till 5 minutes before the end. I mean, it could have crashed 5 minutes before the end in theory, right? And then I'd have been up the shitter as well. So I completely understand why people want to wait till last minute. I think I'm surprised that the official account, as in FPL, haven't come out and said anything about it, because it has clearly affected a lot of people. I mean, my chat was going off on the deadline stream, was like, it's crashed. And I was
man.
Oh, wow. So I went and looked. And this is on the website, by the way, because I don't trust that glitchy app anyway. And sure enough, I'd already made mine, couldn't get on the website. And then very briefly, for about half a second, it came back on, but was then gone again. It threw me straight back off. I was obviously trying to clarify if what people were saying in my chat was correct, right? Because people like to scaremonger and stuff. But yeah, that was the case. And I feel for anybody who didn't make their transfer. I'm not sure. I've seen about people saying about, they took -40s and then we're going to activate the free hit at like 1 minute 2. I'm not quite sure why you wouldn't have. At that point, surely is a game going to get postponed, and then you're going to look at it and go, actually, I'm just going to leave it as -40. Now, presumably at that point, you're going to activate it anyway. So I didn't get those who've ended up with massive points hits. I don't get why you've waited quite that long to press the button. I'm not sure, but there aren't many a case of that. I'm surprised that the official account were out tweeting things last night like, rate your Boxing Day 1 out of 10, and there's people badgering them in the replies, swearing blind at them and stuff. And
yeah.
There was a situation which I don't remember, to be honest, Suj, but I know that happened in, I think it was the opening day of the 16-17 season, I want to say. And there was 3.5 million players prior to game week 1. We've obviously got, it's like 8.5 million now or something. And the website was really glitchy.
I remember.
In the whole hour before the first game. Well, I don't remember, mate, because Tottenham were playing at 3 o'clock and I was already in the pub and I'd have been done.
I think they gave, didn't they give everybody an extra transfer or something like that?
They gave everyone a wild card.
That was it.
This is slightly different in the sense that it appears the website has been down for maybe a 2-minute period, and it's unfortunate that it's right on deadline. I think the difference between now and what happened then was I found some of the old tweets. I didn't go looking for it far, but I did a Google search to find, and I found an article, I think it was on the Telegraph, where they'd clipped their tweets from then in, and they were tweeting at like 45 minutes before the deadline, we're experiencing problems. 15 minutes before the deadline, we're still experiencing problems. We're trying really hard and stuff. So that the difference, I think, between now and then is they were acknowledging the problem back then, whereas it's now the next morning and they haven't acknowledged fuck all, right?
Nothing's going to get done about it.
They may not even be aware. Unless they were themselves checking that website between the 2-minute period or so.
Well, they may not have been aware at the time. They definitely know now what happened.
Oh yeah, listen, this isn't one person making it up. This is, I mean, certainly within the Twitter community, and there were a lot of very serious FPL managers who've been affected by it. The advice would be, come tomorrow. I think that everybody's going to generally leave their transfers quite late again. I would have the website ideally rather than the app. It's a personal thing. I do not trust that app. I've had too many stories about it. Have the kind of tab open with your transfers ready to set. So literally you can just press make transfers, confirm, done, gosh, rather than be mucking about with it. And I would be looking to do that tomorrow, like 1:45. You got to think as well tomorrow for the deadline. There's no 5:30 game. What's the chances that something happens to Leicester, Liverpool, or any of the other games right between 1 and 1:30 p.m.? You got to think it's a little bit unlikely. So I think, look, 10 minutes before, 15 minutes before is fine. We haven't had a 3:00 game or a game postponed within 2 hours, I don't think. Like Villa Burnley was 2 hours, 15 minutes before. So really, in theory, from 1:00-ish, the situation is probably not going to change.
Yeah.
Of course, the other flip is people are trying to desperately get team news, right? And that, obviously, the longer you leave it, the more you might get. I know a lot of people were hoping that something was going to drop, say, with the Man City team yesterday, which, I mean, I didn't see anything till sort of like 5-2 and stuff like that. I don't leave it to the last minute. I feel sorry for people, but that's the advice for this week. Don't leave it quite so late. But I'll be doing the same like tomorrow, 1:15 or something. I think I'll go a little bit earlier tomorrow because there'll be more panic after what's happened yesterday.
Indeed. So I made 2 transfers this week, James. I bought your boy Sonny for Salah, which felt like the right thing to do with Salah's blank and then fixtures and AFCON and all the rest of it. And I also bought Ronaldo for Antonio. Moyes was, well, we don't know yet, do we? Moyes was hopeful that Antonio would come back, but either way, we've got two games in 3 days. He wasn't going to play. He's not going to play both. Yeah. No way. So I thought Ronaldo is definitely a better shout, and especially if I'm going to captain him today as well, that gives me double bubble. And so we don't know at the moment. Sonny's obviously coming with a good 8-pointer.
So have you still got Edward Mendy then?
That was the 3rd transfer. So I sold Mendy for Backman because I needed some money. Right. Okay. And the funny thing was,
I really hope that Man United game goes on tonight.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed it should be okay. We had I think Carl Walker is now taken over from Leroy Sané as my Man City nemesis. The amount of stories and news about Carl Walker, he must be the most talked about in terms of gossip. In the past week, it's been everything from you'd heard a rumor that one of his best friends had potentially died.
No, to be honest, someone put a comment. This is literally all I'd heard. I think it was on the podcast we did last Monday. Someone put a reply in the video to say the reason Walker's not been playing for Man City is one of his best friends passed away. Then my understanding was that he did return to training on like Thursday, Friday, but then passed positive.
Oh, wow. So, yeah, he's been one disaster after another, Carl Walker. And the interesting thing is, had I known he had COVID, I would have left Mendy and I would have bought Kieran Tierney for Carl Walker instead. And that ends up being the best part of, what did Tierney score? 12, 13 points, 16 points, whatever. So that was the unfortunate one, was missing out on Kieran Tierney. It feels like this week, it's a bit premature to judge because obviously Ronaldo going big today could swing it. But it was
wild card 16.
Arsenal or not, basically, is what this game week feels like to me.
When did you wild card 16, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, Kieran Tierney's got up 34 points in those 4 game weeks.
Yeah, it's mad. And such good value as well.
You could have even gone sideways instead of Walker. I was saying to you, then obviously I
Laporte.
Really preferred Laporte, who obviously scored yesterday, and he's in the same period got 29 points over the 4 game weeks, whilst Carl Walker's, I mean, he's obviously give you some substitute points, but who's got subs at the moment?
No, exactly that. It just ended up being a classic example of why information is useful. We've had fuck all or like shitloads of conflicting information as well.
So what are you going to do? She ain't buying Kieran Tierney this week, are
you? No. I haven't decided yet. Let's wait and see after tonight.
All right, fine. So you don't know what you're doing transfers wise yet and stuff?
No. Who
are you intending to captain for game week 20?
I'll probably stick with Ronaldo.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if he comes through the game tonight, all right. I think what you'd probably want as a Ronaldo owner is, even though you've captained him, like I think most people will be intending to probably do the same again on Thursday, those who've bought as new. I think what you'd want him to get a few returns, get a goal and assist or something, and he gets dragged off with 20 minutes to go or something. Would be like the perfect, okay, match a few of those from yesterday and stuff, outscore Son and stuff like that. Cancelo comfortably outscore, and then be in a position where you afterwards you're reflecting going, yeah, he's going to start again on Thursday. That's the position you want to be in tonight. I think there would be a little bit of doubt if it's a really tough game for them tonight and he plays all 90. There's obviously going to be an element of doubt in terms of whether he does start on Thursday, which is really interesting from my perspective, because I obviously took the decision not to -8 for him, because for me to -8 for him, I think the player I would have got rid of is Reece James, who there was no way I was going to want to sell before his latest calamity at Aston Villa returned to 0 pointer yesterday. But it didn't make sense with James having Villa away and Brighton at home. I didn't want to get rid just yet. But I've got comfortably enough money now. And the plan before Arsenal was postponed was to look at it and go, well, I can go Lacazette to Ronaldo
this week.
Absolutely. And that's the glaringly obvious one for me, but it's not a certainty. Because I think before the announcement of the postponement, I'd come to the conclusion that I was probably going to roll, which is the most stupidest idea you can have in FPL at the moment, because the gods are not going to let you fucking roll a transfer unless you're Suj and you just blatantly refuse to make transfers. The reason I would like to roll, which I'm not going to now because I've lost obviously Lacazette, Tierney, and Jacob Ramsey of Aston Villa as well. I will certainly make at least one transfer. Is the 21 problem. And the 21 problem is really interesting for a couple of reasons. One, captaincy potential. Two, between now and Friday, I think some of us have got, well, I say some of us, all of us have got our fingers crossed. We're going to get some sort of information in terms of fixtures for 21 and 22. But I don't think it's impossible, Suj, that we could have games get put into game week 21 and we may not know about it when the deadline passes. I think that's a possibility. So
people who don't know the exact dates and days, this is talking about Game Week 21 starting on this Saturday, the New Year's Day fixtures. And then Game Week 22 starts the following weekend. So potentially Premier League games on a Wednesday.
No, it's 2 weekends after. You've got the FA Cup third round in the middle.
We've got 2 weeks. Right. So
there's two midweeks essentially. If anything gets arranged, goes into 21.
Do you have a inkling on which of those two midweeks, or do you think it could be both?
I think at this stage, Monday the 27th, and the current COVID situation that's ongoing, arranging fixtures for next midweek, i.e. Tuesday the 4th or Wednesday 5th, Thursday 6th, seems quite unlikely at this stage.
Yep.
But I think if we got an announcement this week, I think the week after is possible. Now it's Carabao Cup Semi-Finals next midweek, which we know of, and the midweek after, first and second legs. Those four fixtures are obviously going to be shown on TV between Liverpool, Arsenal, Tottenham, Chelsea, and they're being played on the Wednesdays and the Thursdays. So in theory, games could get put on either Tuesday, and Sky or BT can show the game, one of the games they have the rights for, and it doesn't clash with the Carabao Cup semi-finals. That's not to say that other Premier League games can't clash with the Carabao Cup semi-finals, or they can't schedule live games with the Carabao Cup semi-finals. It's just a little bit more unlikely, certainly from the TV perspective. But could, for example, West Ham versus Norwich, Suj, could that be arranged for Wednesday the 12th of January and clash with the Tottenham-Chelsea game and it not be on the TV? Yeah, of course. Although I'm not sure if the police would want West Ham playing at home the same night Tottenham were playing Chelsea, but that's a different argument altogether. There are two fixtures I'm constantly got my eye on my watch on, because they could be picked for TV and slide quite nicely into Tuesday the 11th. And these ain't going to fill you with much joy. The Burnley v Watford and Everton v Leicester. And it's interesting looking yesterday and thinking about transfers with the potential of doubles in 21 in my mind, and looking at it going, Burnley aren't playing, Watford aren't playing, Everton aren't playing, Leicester got fucking Man City away. Which one of these four teams can I even like? What I mean is, in terms of forcing that -8 for like Son and Ronaldo, I'm thinking, can I have an enabler here? If Burnley had played, for example, you go, I go back to like a Matt Lowton or something and use that as an enabler. He just wasn't on the table. And what I'm looking at with 21 at the moment is a player that didn't even play yesterday, is Jamie Vardy.
Okay.
Because as I said, I think there's a possibility that something can go into 21 and we might not know about it. Vardy's got Norwich at home in 21 anyway. What if the Everton away fixture drops in there as well? That suddenly looks like an amazing double, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if there might be quite a movement towards him towards the weekend. The fact that he had a break yesterday, I think, is encouraging from an FPL perspective. You obviously get to see if he plays against Liverpool tomorrow night. I guess there's always a little bit of doubt with Vardy. Will he play Tuesday, Saturday? But then, as it stands, they've got no fixture next midweek. It's FA Cup third round the weekend after. There's every chance there's a good break for Jamie Vardy coming like over the next week after Norwich anyway. So he's a player that's really in my mind at the moment. And I'm half thinking, Suj, it sounds silly, I'm half thinking about buying him this week. Just get
ahead
him
of Ronaldo.
To use the free transfer for it now, because I believe it's possible.
And go Ronaldo-less for a little while.
Obviously not captain Ronaldo. But part of the debate is I'm thinking if I'm happy to go with, say, Son again at Southampton or Cancelo at Brentford, I don't want to be getting Ronaldo in if I'm not going to captain him personally, because it fucks up the balance of the team a bit in terms of when I want to go back to Mo, which chances are we're all going to want to do, those who come off, is go back to Mo in like game week 24. It's not that you can't take a -4 to shove it back around, but I'm not convinced that I really want to do that. I'm not sure if I want the money up front if I'm not that convinced on Ronaldo. So if I've got doubts on Ronaldo playing against Burnley, I'm not sure I'm gonna go down that road. If I just went Vardy now, if there is some fixture announcement, then it really opens up for me to, rather than just go, oh, I've got Vardy, I could add someone else, Calvert-Lewin or whatever, right?
Yeah.
If there's some information. Now, I'm not saying these fixtures are going to happen, by the way. It's just those were a couple of fixtures that I think could slot in on Tuesday 11th. Obviously, game week 22 looks like it's going to be absolutely massive. But one thing I think it's important to say is I know a lot of people thinking wildcard 21 to bench boost in 22. And the chances are it's going to work absolutely fine for people. But I really don't like it. There's a couple of reasons I really don't like it. One, we can absolutely see what's going on around us at the moment. What's the chance of you having 15 players that's going to play twice? It's not even just the players, right? Are the teams even going to play?
Yeah.
And the other issue is, and I put this on Twitter, I think on Friday night, was if an FA Cup third round match is postponed, which there's 32 ties and there's some lower league teams in there, it feels almost inevitable at the moment that all 20 teams probably won't play in that midweek. When's the fixture going to be played? Well, the most likely solution is it then goes into the midweek of 22. So I think we could even have games that are arranged for 22 and then get postponed again.
Right.
I think the necessity for game week 22 is to get the teams that are in European competition a fixture. So I think, most likely games I think to go into 22 right now are Manchester United versus Brighton. I think Chelsea probably against Arsenal. I think Liverpool against probably Leeds. I don't think there's a rush so much on West Ham. I'm really confident that Leicester Tottenham will go in 22 as well. But that might even be it. Even like West Ham Norwich, there's no rush to panic to rearrange that fixture.
No.
Even though you're in Europa League, because you've still got those 2 extra midweeks of the Europa Conference last 32. So Leicester, there's more of a priority to get Leicester games rearranged. Hence, that's also why I'm conscious of Leicester possibly playing maybe like Everton in on Tuesday 11th, then playing Tottenham the Thursday after, which is the 20th. Tottenham obviously can't have any more of their arrangements because they're in the Carabao Cup semi. And Burnley, I obviously mentioned, because they've got 4 games now. At some point, you've got to
stacking up.
You've got to prioritise getting that in, and that's why I think Burnley, Watford, Everton, Leicester are the 2 I've most got my eye on for 21. That's not to mean other fixtures can't go in there, by the way.
No, and in amongst all of that chaos, there was actually some football in the last 24 hours to cover off as well. Should we talk about some of these games?
Why not, sir?
Because there was a lot of goals, and it felt to me like the biggest missing pieces from the people that had good game weeks versus the people that didn't have good game weeks was City and Arsenal. And if you gambled on attacking City assets, which is always such a pain in the arse because you never know who's going to play from one week to the other. But at the moment, they're all popping off. And apart from Phil Foden, who's a bit of a...
What are you talking about? But Bernardo Silva hasn't got an attacking return in the last 17 that they've scored.
The last 17 goals he hasn't.
Yeah, mate, listen, do you know how many goals he scored in the last week?
Well, yeah, 11.
17.
Yeah. Wow. That is unfortunate. You're having as much luck with Bernardo Silva as I'm having with Kyle Walker, and he's been playing.
I mean, you can't believe that Bernardo.
Unbelievable.
He's been on the pitch for just about all of it, is it? 7-0 against Leeds, 4-0 against Newcastle, 6-3 against Leicester. And I watched quite a bit of this game back last night, which was obviously quite fun. And you can't believe his lack of involvement, because actually there were moments in the game where he was involved. A brilliant little layoff for Sterling, and Schmeichel's made a great save and stuff. So it's not even one you're looking at and you're going, oh, he's doing nothing. The problem with him is, specifically Bernardo, is exactly what I said to you a few weeks back, is he doesn't play in the same position in 2 games in a row. So it's a really difficult player to judge, because yesterday you'd actually look at him and go, do you know what, for a lot of this, he's false 9 again and stuff, like him and De Bruyne kind of rotating and stuff. I think I'm going to move him on, but at the end of the day, he's got a fixture at the moment, so he's not the player I'm going to sell. But I'm looking to come off it. I think, like, if there are doubles in 21 and I'm aware of them, he becomes a very easy sell, I think, at the weekend before, say, Arsenal away, Chelsea at home. But then the City players, the thing is, you look at Bernardo and go, he's going to play them games, isn't he? It's not straightforward or easy.
Yeah, I think it's a luxury transfer for you, and if you get the opportunity or you need to free up some cash,
I think it's
get rid of
that.
him. But
I'd say
I'm
not holding him for sake of City coverage. I'm not bothered about it. I know we can look at them and go, oh my God, they've got 17 goals in the last 3 games. Yeah, it's incredible. And if you gambled on Mahrez yesterday, which I think a lot of people on Free Hit did, because there is definitely a correlation between Riyad Mahrez seems to play more minutes than anybody else at Man City over Christmas periods. That's happened the last few years. And suddenly, look, he started a couple of games in a row over the Christmas period. I wouldn't be surprised if Mahrez starts again on Wednesday and Saturday, you know. For Guardiola's spoken about this before. He basically says, because he's got no muscle in his legs, he can turn around quickly. It's not a problem for him. The rest, I mean, I don't know where you go. I wouldn't buy Bernardo now. I wouldn't buy Gundogan now. I wouldn't buy Foden at the moment. I wouldn't buy Grealish. Sterling is in a little bit of a streak at the moment. But
10 point something, isn't he now?
But it feels like, I feel like that's one maybe where Salah owners possibly went there yesterday and have looked at him for a little period. But you're never confident from one game to the next if he's going to stay in the team, and that's a lot of money for that. KDB's obviously coming back to form. He was great yesterday.
Any thoughts on KDB?
No, I just don't have the justification. I think that the thing is, Suj, like they spread all the points around them, and he's like, oh, I've got to have coverage of it, and the chances are there'll be people listening who are like, oh, I've got Foden. Yeah, and there's all that coverage and you've got nothing. I'm sitting here with Bernardo Silva, all them goals, and he's played nothing. And that can happen. That could be Sterling for the next 3-4 game weeks or so, right? You never know. So I'm not that bothered about investing in City, really, particularly for this foreseeable. I mean, there's a couple of fixtures ahead. I look at sort of like 23, they've got Southampton away, 24 Brentford at home, 25 Norwich away. Great. But then there's other teams who are probably going to maybe have doubles over this period as well. And at the moment, Man City and Newcastle are the only 2 without a game postponed,
to rearrange.
Right? Which also makes me nervous that at some point they're going to get the low-key bag. But no, they're just not on. They're not on radar. The one I'd be prioritizing now. Still, people ask me on my stream yesterday, do you think I should get Cancelo? Oh, please get on with it.
Yeah. I'm coming off Kyle Walker imminently. Probably in a similar way to you and Bernardo Silva. As soon as the opportunity opens up to move it on, I will be moving it on. And it's obviously an area where budget's less of an issue for me anyway. So there's loads of places I can go from Kyle Walker between 4.5 and 5 million.
They are absolutely purring though. What happened really interestingly in the game though, obviously, look, they were 4-0 up, and someone said to me behind me in the ground that Tottenham's like, it's 4-3. And I didn't know what game he was talking about, but I obviously had known at halftime City were winning 4-0. I thought, well, it must be the Leicester scored 3 goals. It can't be, surely. Leicester scored 3 brilliant goals in terms of the way they played through City. I think Rodri's absence was a big part of this. and you should be conscious of that and be aware of that if you are thinking of, say, Cancelo. Now, Brentford are probably not going to play through the lines in the same way like Maddison and Iheanacho did really expertly in that second half yesterday. But it's something you should be aware of because there's large reports long before kickoff that Rodri might not be available because of the bug and stuff. And we probably have to assume that's what it is. And him absent might not be such a blow at Brentford. I'll tell you what, they'll miss him at Arsenal on Saturday if he's not available, Rodri. I was very critical on this podcast basically almost exactly a year ago. And since I think he's been absolutely brilliant for them, actually. I think he's really stepped up the last 12 months.
You saying he listens?
Sorry?
Are you saying he listens to the pod?
Rodri?
Yeah. He heard you dig him out and thought, all right, I'm going to show James.
Somebody watching this on YouTube is definitely going to say, oh, yeah, there's definitely a comparison with that bald twat at Man City. Yeah, they're both bald. Yeah, could be. No, definitely does not listen to Planet FPL, but that's something to be conscious of if he's unavailable. Because as well, you have to think if he's possibly going to be unavailable for this week, so you can say Brentford's not a problem. Fernandinho probably can't play all 3 games. So you probably think, well, I've got to play Fernandinho at Arsenal. So then who plays deep at Brentford? Well, my best guess would be Bernardo Silva, Suj, because it's who Guardiola trusts the most to play various different positions. We've seen Bernardo Silva play like in the double pivot, say back at Chelsea. I want to say it was game week 6 or 7. So it could even mean it's a very deep role for Bernardo Silva at Brentford on Wednesday. Leicester, as I said, it pricks the interest up, not thinking, and we'll talk about it more again on sort of Friday's podcast. Okay, yes, it's Liverpool next. But that Norwich fixture, suddenly Leicester's feels like a real turn because after Norwich at home, it's Burnley away, Brighton at home. It's a good little run. So I'm thinking as well, with someone like Vardy, yeah, I can buy him. Okay, it might not be a double. I've still got him for Norwich at home, potential captaincy and stuff. And I think we're back at the stage where it really is target Norwich again. Like I'm even looking at, say, Edouard for tomorrow. For example.
Wow. It's a short-term punt.
Yeah, just 1 week. Like, honestly, I'd look at possibly Edouard rather than Ronaldo just purely because Edouard's playing Norwich. Like, they're shot. They're shot again.
This week, had I pre-hitted?
I would have. That's what you're going to say, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, do you know how many clowns are saying that?
I would have loved to have piled into, because obviously Arsenal against Norwich. And the thing is, it's like with City, I wouldn't ever say, I would have piled into City and got the right players, because it would have been impossible to know from City's pack who's going to score the points. With Arsenal, Tierney, Saka and Lacazette would have been top 3 on the list of which assets would you want to go to. Maybe Martinelli would jump into the mix, but no surprise. And those I was going to say
Martinelli, I think would have been in there. At value.
But I don't think you'd have had budget issues this week if you were free hitting. So those 3 coming in with 40 points. There must be people that use the free hit and you pick those 3. Plenty.
Oh, to be honest, I've seen quite a few Bukayo Saka captains knocking about. Really well done to those people.
Yeah.
And I guess that's a target in Norwich's left side, which we've known for a long time as a potential problem. I understand that.
Ramsdale's obviously got pretty decent ownership for a goalkeeper as well, over 20%. So.
I think people are now thinking, is this the time to move?
Yeah.
And there's certainly a case for that.
You're on 2, right? So you've got to come off 1, possibly. Well, you've got no fixture next week.
So Arsenal, obviously, look, the Carabao Cup Semi-Finals, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Tottenham, fall into line where right now they cannot double in 21. They can all double in 22. And in the case of Arsenal, I think they're extremely likely to double in 22 because they've now got games to rearrange against Chelsea and Liverpool, who are both in Europe. And obviously now you've got the Wolves game as well. The Chelsea game is scheduled for game week 25. It's obviously going to be postponed because of Chelsea's Club World Cup involvement. It can, however, still take place in that week. That's because in the midweek afterwards, Chelsea don't compete in the last 16 of the Champions League. So it could be that Chelsea's Arsenal's blank in 25 could go back into 25 and it would be played on the Wednesday. So it would just be like a long single game week.
Yep.
Although I think it's more likely that they're going to bring the Chelsea Arsenal game forward. So what you're looking at with Ramsdale fixture-wise, you're looking at blank now. You're looking at Man City at home. You're looking at Tottenham away, which is likely to be a double. That double, I think, is probably going to be Tottenham away, Chelsea away. You think, okay, there's probably better. Then there's Burnley at home, Wolves away, blank. Brentford at home, blank, because they're meant to play Liverpool away in 27 for the Carabao Cup final. Sorry, Liverpool at home. And obviously they're drawing each other in the semi-final. So that game's definitely off because at least one of them's getting to the final. And then you're in 28 Watford away. And then actually Arsenal have a fairly kind of midland stretch, which isn't brilliant, from sort of game week 29 onto around about game week 35. They go to West Ham and they've got a nice last three. So there's definitely the case to be looking against Ramsdale. I think my advice to people would be, if you're sitting there with, say, Backman as the backup, if Watford West Ham goes ahead, and at the moment we have to believe that it's going to, I wouldn't stress about it. I think I'd leave it. I'd leave him being there, actually, because even look, Tottenham away, Chelsea away, okay, if that's the double, it doesn't look great. But if Arsenal do get a clean sheet in either of them, he's likely to score very well as well, isn't he?
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
And then there are other fixtures. So, I mean, you could look at the weekend and go, okay, Ramsdale against Man City, it's not brilliant. You might decide you want to play Batman against Tottenham if that's your rotation. I know a few people have got Sanchez rotates quite well with Ramsdale. So you could have Sanchez away to Everton this week. And then if Brighton have a better double than Tottenham, you've got Sanchez against Palace at home. I think it would probably be Man United away would be Brighton's other fixture.
Double.
Sanchez obviously has a blank in 24. Ramsdale has a blank in 25. So there are some combinations where I think you can still keep Ramsdale rather than necessarily move into David De Gea or Hugo Lloris are the two that people are really looking at the moment. But I think if you've got Batman or Sanchez with Ramsdale, I wouldn't stress. I'd just keep him, I think. Not stress over it. They're much better defensively now. And I think that's quietly been happening for quite a while with Arsenal. If we forget that dodgy 3-week period at the start, they were better defensively second half of last season as well. I think the key to that is key players being fit.
Yeah.
Got a goalkeeper they trust now. Tomiyasu looks a good right back. He obviously didn't play yesterday. Ben White played at right back. Rob Holding stepped in. Bates Norwich. But if Tomiyasu's fit, White and Gabriel looks like a good partnership. Kieran Tierney, we really rate at left back.
Of course.
That's strong. That's strong. And I don't think, obviously, you're not in kind of buy Arsenal zone at the moment. You're probably not going to be now for a few weeks. But I wouldn't. My thought is I've got Tierney and Lacazette. So Lacazette is an easy sell. Was never a long-term option anyway. It was, I'm targeting Leeds and Norwich, and that's the end of it. So he can go. Tierney, I might keep, Suj.
Well, if I owned Kieran Tierney, I'd keep him. You bought him at 4.7.
He's not. I'm not bothered about the value, mate. To be honest, I bought him at 4.8. I couldn't care less about value at the moment with players. It's more a case of, do I want to fudge about with that position? And I'm looking at it again. He's a player who, if I don't like his fixture, I can bench him at that kind of value anyway. And I think he's a good long-term pick. And they do still have fixtures like Burnley in 23, Brentford 26, Watford 28, which is great. And that period where I think you can look at Arsenal's next 8 fixtures and you see 3 blanks and think, fuck, might be 3 doubles in that period as well. True. Like, it's really unpredictable at the moment because the Wolves fixture, because they're not in Europe, obviously could drop anywhere. So, yeah, I think I'm going to hold on to Kieran Tierney. I think Lacazette's going to go. Obviously, if I get other games wiped out where I don't want to lose the players, like Liverpool's off again, I don't care. I'm still not selling Jota or Trent. Then at that point, okay, fine, I've got to sacrifice Tierney. We'll come back and look at it if need be. But yeah, I don't think it's 100% sell the Arsenal assets. Like, it's similar with obviously the attacking players. I still think Martinelli's the one to go for at the moment if you were buying new. But I think keep what you've got in many cases, but the moment's passed in terms of buying, I think.
Yeah.
Norwich is just
done.
Just on them, because I think this is worth saying. It's Palace next. And I'll probably forget to talk about this, right? We're talking about targeting Edouard, right?
Yep.
Zaha's suspended. Benteke, we think, missed the game yesterday with COVID. They brought Mateta on, who hasn't been used like all season, to give Edouard a break at the end of the game. I'm looking at that and going, Edouard is playing at home to Norwich tomorrow. And what state are they in? And really considering that. I've already spoke about Leicester against them next week. And you're looking at other ones further ahead. Everton. They've got this brilliant run of fixtures. Everton go to Carrow Road, game week 22. Josh King, 23. Watford have got Newcastle, I think, the week before. And Watford could have double Norwich at home. I mean, it's another. That's why I'd obviously sacrificed Dennis because he's going to AFCON, but was loath to sell Josh King, right?
Yeah,
Josh King's another one. If that game goes on, I don't want to sell Josh King at the moment. So
No.
that's why I really think they're back in complete target zone at the moment.
Spurs 3, Palace 0. Ended up being a good home win for you.
Oh, why didn't you say, James, it's the segue? We're going to talk about Tottenham Palace next anyway. Wilfried Zaha. Like, hello to Wilfried Zaha today. You fucking plank.
Yeah.
What an idiot. That's been coming with him, that moment, for years, hasn't it?
Because he's an Arsenal fan, isn't he?
He is a gooner as well.
So he's an Arsenal fan. So I don't know how much that plays into the need when he plays against Spurs necessarily. But yeah, that was not clever.
He wasn't getting any extra abuse to normal, even though it's quite common knowledge now that wasn't he taking pictures of himself in the summer with like going to Arsenal or the summer before, weird stuff. His moment's gone. It was Wright. It was on Match of Day last night. It was Ian Wright was on Match of Day last night. He's like, he's 29, still acting like a child, basically.
Yeah.
And we've said it numerous times, like, love him in terms of his like ability on the ball. He's an absolute baller. He gets on it and you think, it's going to be a problem getting it off him, you know that?
Yeah.
I'm almost happier when he's kicking the ball away from his body. Because I think, like, technically, I spoke about his crossing in, say, the Southampton game. Like, if he's crossing on his left foot, I'm like, yeah, crack on, mate. I don't want you running into the penalty area and taking people on, because it's breathtaking when he moves his feet over short little distances. But he's let his team down badly. After the situation with, obviously, there's a COVID issue going on at the club at the moment, fairly obviously. And I guess we should say the Norwich game would, because of that, is potentially in doubt, right, if the situation worsens. But he's let his players, who he knows have got 2 games in 2 days and are not in the best situation anyway because they've got players missing, he's let them have to go and chase the ball for an hour. I mean, he's badly let people down, badly. And he's going to be suspended for Norwich at home. What an idiot. Palace, until the first goal, played all right without ever being threatening. Gallagher played basically as a 10. He ended up playing the majority of the game on the right of midfield 4 after the red card. But he was linking up quite nicely. Dangerous, didn't get any shots away or anything, but getting in good positions. The other 2, Hughes and Chiarte, were protecting him so he could go. I thought Tyrek Mitchell played really well at left back for him. I tell you what, I think he's going to be a player. So he gets better every time I see him at left back for Palace. They really missed Gahey. Really missed him
in the middle,
because the game was kind of, and Tottenham didn't, even Antonio Conte says, we didn't play great first 20 minutes. And the first goal comes from a moment of Tompkins being aggressive, which is fine. Like, you can go into people and be aggressive. You got to either win the ball or you got to take your player out. And he doesn't do either. And then Lucas has got so much space. Emerson can't get the pass wrong, and that's it. And we score. And then literally 2 minutes later, we break on them and we play. The second goal was a beautiful goal. Loved it.
Yep.
But then the game's gone from 0-0 to you've lost
2-0
in the space of 2 minutes.
When you're down to 10 men, no chance recovery.
Absolutely finished. They did nothing in the second half bar settle on what was happening. And to be honest, with another game to play in 2 days, I don't blame them for that, because it was more likely that they were going to go and get beat 5 or 6-0 than get back in the game, was the reality. So I understand them like just funding into a 4-4-1 space. As I said, they sacrificed a few players. They took Gallagher off. They took Edouard off. They was obviously thinking about the Norwich game, which is understandable. And I think, I know there's a lot of people going to free hit this week, for example. Again, Edouard. He'd be going in for me against that Norwich team at the moment. He looks certain to play through the middle.
And Conor Gallagher as well?
Less so.
I suppose if budget...
Less so.
If you get to a situation where you need to juggle budget.
I don't think that would be such a case. I just think there's more midfield options than the striker area feels quite bare at the moment in FPL. So I think, like, for the 1 week to be able to look at someone like Edouard and feel really confident that he's going to play at home to Norwich, obviously if the game goes ahead, then I think it's a good one, because he's probably not a player you want long term as well. So, like, I know, so should I go and buy Edouard? And I don't think I will. yeah, great, it's Norwich at home. But then I don't want him for West Ham, Brighton, and Liverpool afterwards. Like, he literally would be on and off immediately. And in which case, I might as well just leave Lacazette on the bench, possibly.
Yeah.
But for free hitters, yeah, I'd strongly consider him. Spurs.
Glad
really,
you caught Sonny. 4 goals and 4 for him.
Yeah, I didn't celebrate the goal because I was convinced it was offside. I knew it was really close, and you won't have seen this on. I don't know why they on the highlights. I mean, presumably they showed it when the game was live, but I only saw what was on Match of the Day back last night. They didn't show the lines or anything. There was a proper VAR check announced in the stadium. Wow. Obviously, the goal was given. I've seen it quick there several times. It looks offside every time I look at it. Even though I know it's not going to be given. The second goal really celebrated, and what Tottenham are now beginning to add, I think, is the little bit of attacking flair and combinations to go on top of. I've said to you on the Tottenham pods a lot, Suj. I think he's really been working them so hard defensively. And obviously the game became really, really easy yesterday, but I still liked the way that Tottenham passed the ball. Tottenham are playing passes now with purpose. I've watched Tottenham for 2 years play the safe pass all the time and not play a pass like you mean it. Like, everything's just a little bit quicker in the way it's happening at the moment. And the front three are all contributing. It's obviously 2-2 now for Harry, which is good, certainly in terms of league goals. So that stops people talking about it a little bit. Sonny is always going to be in and around the goals. And obviously little Lucas, did you see his interview?
No, I haven't.
I may be small, but I can jump high. Brilliant.
Yeah,
he's such a likable character, Lucas. He's kind of like our Mikel Antonio in the sense of when you do interviews, you're like, I love you.
He's always smiling. He's always happy.
He really is. Yeah. I know people are going, is Lucas an option? Well, for me, no, not really. But short term, he might be. I did think we'd go back to this 3-4-2-1 system. I think the 3-5-2 is more likely to be seen in more difficult games. So I think it might come back for, say, Arsenal at home in 22. It might come back for Chelsea away in 23. So it could be that you're looking at maybe 2 games of Lucas and then he doesn't look so great. But certainly his attacking output numbers look far better since Conte came in. There are returns coming. His underlying numbers are improving. I think he was just under 1 for XG and XA during that game yesterday, which is quite impressive. But then he has played against 10 men for a lot of the game and stuff. So Lucas wouldn't be on radar for me personally. Like, if you're going to free hit into Tottenham this week, like, it's still Sunless. Pay the extra for Sonny, honestly, please.
Fancy any defensive assets in Reggie or Emerson?
Well, the thing with Reggie and Emerson is you have to be aware that they will be rotation risks for this Southampton game because of the amount of work that they get through. That said, obviously the game became quite easy yesterday. So they didn't have to work as... I mean, the two of them played as wingers yesterday, basically. They didn't have to work as hard as they normally do in matches in terms of the kind of up and down, because from minute 35, the whole game was played in Crystal Palace's half, basically. So that's helpful. And Tottenham obviously managed the situation, took Kane off, took Son off. They managed the situation to give players obviously a rest before the Southampton game. So don't expect too much rotation. I'm not keen. The next 2 fixtures are obviously good. Then it stiffens up a little bit. I'd probably be more inclined to look at Davis or Dyer as rotational options. Davis obviously didn't play yesterday, but I would expect him to come back in for the Southampton game. Remember, he's one of the players who was suspected of having COVID. So I think they've probably looked at him and gone, you're not going to play 2 times in 3 days. We're going to rest you for the home fixture. So I would expect Davis to come back in for Southampton.
Let's talk about West Ham 2, Southampton 3, a game I was at. It was weird. I don't know what it was like at your place, but it was half empty and probably being generous. There was
40,000 at ours.
I don't know what the official number is, but it felt half empty.
Yours do it on tickets sold, didn't they? So I think it'd be like 57,000 or something.
Nah, it definitely was obviously not full. And I said to a guy that sits behind me at half time, it feels like a pre-season game. And he said, nah, it doesn't feel like a pre-season game. What it feels like is last day of the season when both teams have got nothing to play for and there's just nothing riding on it, but it is a competitive game of football. And it just felt flat. Everything about it felt really flat. Disappointing to lose to Southampton like that.
The problem is at your place, because you've got all them white seats and stuff. I said this to you before. Like, it looks really obvious. Trust me, like there were 20,000 empty seats at Tottenham yesterday, and people would have seen loads of empty seats at Brighton last night. It's completely understandable. Have to remember as well that in London yesterday, and I don't know what it was like around the rest of the country, there was no trains anywhere.
A lot of people were saying that they thought the trains had more of an impact than actually COVID in terms of getting to the stadium.
I think so as well, because say in the case of West Ham, Tottenham, in fact, we can include Brighton in this as well, because Brighton's home ground's not in Brighton anymore, right? It's in Falmer. So you have to get a train from Brighton to Falmer. West Ham and Tottenham have a lot of fans who live outside of London, quite frankly. So West Ham's are all to the east, Essex way, and Tottenham's kind of going up north towards Hertfordshire and stuff like that. And like, if you live that way, you can't drive to Tottenham or Stratford anymore, really. No. I mean, you drive to Stratford, don't you?
I drive to Stratford.
But like, you cannot drive to Tottenham. No. What you do in that circumstance, I'd say to people, if people said, I'm coming from up north, what do you do? I'd say, park near Enfield and get on a train.
Get a train from there. Yeah.
But then if you do that at the moment, you're looking at another half hour on a bus and stuff. Plus, I think, particularly in the case of the Tottenham game, I mean, there were so many people thought the game was going to be postponed. My information was the game was going to be postponed. Football London, the Daily Express, one of the Scum newspaper, who I won't say the name of, one of their spin-off sister papers reported that the game was off as well. So I think Palace probably leaked some information to say, look, say the game's off, because we want the game off, obviously, with Vieira being absent and stuff as well. And a few people jumped the gun. I did as well. Fair play. Apologies. But I can understand why people didn't go. I mean, you were in two minds anyway.
Yeah, I was in two minds, more COVID related. And just to add as well, like 0 COVID checks. Maybe because they knew that only half the stadium was going to turn up, but 0 COVID checks.
Is that the only time you've been in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah.
I have to say, at Tottenham, I don't know how strict it's been, but we've obviously had 3 games at home in the last week, and I've had my COVID pass check for all 3.
Oh, mad. Yeah. We had nothing.
I think it also helps that I've been going in the ground at a sensible time, so I've not been involved in a big crush. I mean, yesterday I didn't, but there were so many people not there that it obviously wasn't big queues or anything. And I've kind of had the device ready to show people, because I don't really want the faffing of, can you show me a COVID pass? I'm ready to show it anyway. But it's definitely understandable why people haven't been going to games with the transport and COVID. I think people just got, and in Tottenham's case, obviously the game got put on TV yesterday as well. So I mean, in your case, it doesn't help. I think from the players' perspective, the visual of the white seats is definitely what Tottenham have been so clever with these dark blue seats. Like, unless the place can look full when it's not, if there's enough kind of people in and around. Whereas at your play, it looks terrible at the moment because them white seats stands out. And I think for the players are probably thinking, we're in a bad moment, got a few defensive injuries, which is obviously causing problems. And I don't know if that leads to, like Antonio said, you were flat, right? But then I think it's understandable that players can be like that when they go, it's fucking empty.
Yeah.
You can have that effect. And I'm not blaming West Ham fans for not going yesterday.
No, of course. We started the game flat. Southampton, to their credit, pretty much controlled the midfield and controlled the ball. It's just annoying when goals come from mistakes, and the first goal comes from Masuaku jumping in for a header where he didn't need to.
Masuaku mistake? Surely not.
Leaves a free man behind him, and then they a bit of build-up play, and before you know it, free man edge of the box, and it's in the bottom corner. Dawson's calamitous rugby tackle on Breuer, perhaps.
Seen people online saying that that's not a penalty.
I think it was people are saying it because they're taking it as 2 different things. What happened outside the box, and then when he fell over and took him out inside the box.
Yeah, but
I don't think you can look at it as 2 separate things.
You literally see them ones sometimes where someone's pulling someone and they go into the box and then suddenly they go down. You think, oh, you naughty bastard, you waited until you got there. In Breuer's case, he was doing everything possible to stay on his feet and get the shot away. Yeah. And then finally, Dawson's whole body lands down on the back of his foot. I mean, there is no world where that's not a penalty.
No, I mean, a good acid test of whether or not you think something's a penalty is, how would you feel if it was the other way?
It's
But if that was
It's not even
Antonio
questionable.
and it was Bednarek, you'd be calling for a penalty all day long. So I think that it was just a bad bit of defending. And Souček, who's been playing badly for a while,
You said
leaves
this.
Bednarek to head home when he should be marking him. And you'd think with his height, he'd be able to deal with the free kick from Ward-Prowse. So disappointing, to be honest, from a West Ham point of view, although there's still goals in the team. There's still chances. Antonio only played the second half, and obviously he did get his goal. Bowen's still the main attacking threat from midfield. I just think avoid them defensively, but feel free to stick with Antonio or Bowen if you wanted to from an attacking point of view. Southampton, Breuer. I'll be going to Breuer at some point. I think Ollie Watkins to Breuer for me is going to be when I need to save some money, or if I want to pump more money into midfield. I think Breuer is the perfect forward enabler out there right now.
Yeah, I'm in agreement.
Definitely.
I feel I was always put off by Breuer by the kind of headache that I think inevitably comes with him once Che Adams and Adam Armstrong are both back up to speed in terms of would he play? Would he play? First thing to say is I think of the three of them, he's the best.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he offers something different to the other two. I think he offers a kind of rare mix of in behind, aerial strength, finishing. I think he's probably better than the other two in the majority of the departments, other than perhaps pace against Armstrong and stuff.
Say it how you mean it. He's a better player.
Yeah, he is. I mean, I think from Chelsea's perspective, he's another one off the production line that, I mean, he could well be understudy to Lukaku next year. They could have done with him this period where Lukaku's been out, in all honesty.
Agreed.
He'd certainly be a better option than some of the like Pulisic up front first half. It's just nothing. It's not. Anyway, we'll talk about them in a sec. So, I made the decision finally to go with Breuer yesterday because it enabled my thinking when I wildcarded in 16 was always look at Watford two together, King and Dennis for a couple of weeks, and then move to Breuer once you've made the decision between Dennis and King. Dennis going to AFCON makes the decision quite easy. So got him in yesterday, which was a bit reluctant to do because you think, getting this guy in as -4, I don't really fancy him to return at West Ham. But I did fancy Saints to score because of your defensive issue. And to be honest, I was more looking at going, Sonny's going to do the damage for me anyway. And whether I do this transfer now or not, I'm just delaying the inevitable. I might as well get Breuer in now. And obviously, look, it's Tottenham at home next. I'm happy for him to play. Yes, we're much improved defensively, but I'd be happy for him to play in my FPL team this week. Then it's Newcastle at home in 21. Then it might be a double. If, like Wolves away, Brentford at home. And it might be one of suddenly where it's like, oh, that's attractive. Then afterwards, we've got like City at home, Tottenham away, United away, which looks rougher. And I can look at it over that period. And I play him, I bench him, I sell him. Then there's other good fixtures afterwards, like between 26 and 29. They've got Everton at home, Norwich at home, Watford at home. And I think because of the competition with Armstrong and Adams, he falls into what I deem as a rare acceptable line that he could be benched. But to be honest, I think at the moment I see me playing him most weeks as it stands. I think he's a top little option. Was he 5.2? He'll keep getting interest. He'll keep getting interest. He's definitely the standout one. I think I would say at the moment, if you could afford to buy King over Breuer, I would buy Josh King at this moment personally. But yeah, if you need to come down, Breuer, fine. Newcastle looks really attractive at the weekend as well. I feel like with yourselves, Suj, that I look at things like the third goal yesterday, and I think that's such an untypical West Ham goal to concede at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
We spoke after the cup game that we had with each other last week about like me being really worried about West Ham offensively from set pieces and stuff. I've watched 2 games this season with Tottenham, one under Nuno, one over Conte, where Tottenham both showed reluctance to put the ball, into the penalty area because of West Ham's aerial prowess. So that goal, it's almost like you've still got the height there with like Dawson and Diop. But it's some sort of lack of leadership or something.
So Souček's been off his game for a while. Any team's obviously going to get affected if you lose your 2 starting centre backs and left back and right back. And Masuaku has been Masuaku for a little while. He's not been doing it. He's a wing back. He's not a left back. So when we play with a 4, I don't know why he chooses Masuak over Ben Johnson, but I guess Ben Johnson, they're obviously nursing him back from injury. And Souček really has been off his game all season. He's just not been on it like he was last season. I'm not sure if Rice being more aggressive this year is really affected Souček's game, because he obviously he definitely has to sit back.
He has to play with more balance now.
Of course. And that takes away a big part of his game, which was obviously getting forward and getting in the box. And when we don't have Antonio, so if Bowen's playing up front, I like the idea of Souček being the one given more license to go forward, because it adds a bit of height and another dimension that we don't have. Bowen's obviously quite small. Rice never gets in the box. It's not his. He does, but not kind of 6-yard area type stuff.
Nah.
So yeah,
you want him on the edge of the box when it comes out, so he's on the ball, right? Let's be honest.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not quite right, but still, there's still goals in the team. So if you've got a Bowen or an Antonio, it's not a problem. We're still going to score goals.
All right, a couple of quick fire questions. Would you still advise people to buy Bowen? Quick fire, Suj.
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
do you think Antonio starts tomorrow?
Yes.
And do you know why tomorrow is now a massive problem for you at Watford?
Declan Rice is on 5 yellows. So
Declan Rice is suspended tomorrow, and that makes me very concerned for you tomorrow.
Yeah,
with
me
that
too.
In front of the back 4. Now, I think you can mitigate it by actually playing Souček, ironically, with Rice absent, even deeper.
Mm-hmm.
Put him up as a shield, as a proper anchor tomorrow. Let him sit in front of the back 4, pick up all the second balls when they come down, or obviously provide a shield so the ball's not played directly into Dennis's feet if Dennis plays through the middle. And then I think you'd be okay. I presume Alex Kraut will probably get a start tomorrow. Would make sense rather than Mark Noble.
No, I think he'd drop Lanzini in there potentially instead. And we've played better when Lanzini's been on the pitch recently. Gives a bit of control.
Yeah, fair. But do you know what? Watford are a threat on the counter, you know? They have people like Sissoko, who we know he's a bit ungamely and stuff, but he'll drive past you and stuff and commit people. I think that's now a very dangerous game for you tomorrow at Watford. And I think in terms of like top 4 hopes, you probably look at Arsenal are beginning to look like they're pulling away from you and stuff, mate.
Our top 4 is dead.
Do you think? I wouldn't say it's dead. You got so many good home fixtures left, mate. So many. If you look at West Ham's home fixtures, their last 2 are Arsenal and Man City. Other than that, West Ham's home fixtures are unbelievable. And I think just consistently winning them home games, which I know you lost one yesterday, will keep you in the race. Because then if you just can keep kind of turning over the away points at like a point, you'll maintain a kind of natural 2 points per game. It's the home games are going to be massive for you. Leeds, Watford, Newcastle, Wolves, Villa, Everton, Burnley. Those are the home games. I look at all them and I think, well, I can see West Ham winning all of them. I'm sure you probably won't, unfortunately. But no, I would not say your top 4 hopes are dead, mate. I think you just got to get through this little... Reality is, right, you've got United away in game week 23. You got Liverpool away in 28. Other than that, your fixtures are really good up till basically, I mean, arguably game week 34. There's Tottenham away in game week 30. You've got good fixtures left. So I wouldn't rule you out, mate. But the defence is a problem. And I would not be investing from an FPL perspective in that defence at the moment in any way.
Agreed. Aston Villa 1, Chelsea 3. And Villa started really well. I think they were coming into a good run of form recently, obviously new lease of life under Steven Gerrard. They did give it a good go, didn't they? But I guess in the end, the quality of Jorginho's lollipop skip jump.
Well, no, the quality of Lukaku is what won the game, essentially.
No, that's true.
He epitomizes why I think Chelsea will and won't win this league to an extent. I've always said that unless Lukaku was someone who could be capable of challenging for the top goal scorer, then Chelsea wouldn't win the league, in my opinion. But they're 6 points off and they've missed him for long periods. If they can get him fit and get him in the team regularly, he is going to be the difference between some of these games recently, like Wolves away, that's a draw and stuff like that. Everton at home, that's a draw. Villa away yesterday, that probably would have been a draw. It also allows Chelsea to play a little bit differently as well. Not just in terms of like slower build-up play. There can obviously be a little bit more ruthless in terms of flinging a cross into the box, as proven yesterday. It's a good cross by Hudson-Odoi, but Lukaku makes it a good cross. And he makes Tyrone Mings look like an idiot. And also, when they're holding on to leads, they can do what happened yesterday as well. When he gets that ball in that right-hand channel and starts running at people, he looks unstoppable. And I was quite impressed with how fit he looked yesterday. But I mean, the penalty was, I mean, I laughed when it happened because he just looks unstoppable in that moment where he's blitzing past people. He's got everything about his game. And you know, in the end, on his right foot, he's probably going to settle for the penalty situation as well. Very happy with that. I thought he really dominated the game when he came on and give Chelsea a completely different dimension. And I think he will do in coming weeks. As not to say he's an FPL asset at the moment. I don't think he is. Like, I wouldn't consider him as my 1 week punt at home to Brighton this week if I decide on a 1 week punt. Liverpool at home afterwards, City away afterwards, Tottenham at home afterwards, then potentially blank. It's looking more like sell Chelsea assets at the moment rather than buy.
It's very, with Lukaku. I'm just looking at his minutes, and he's barely played this season. 7 games, 7-8 starts. It's hardly had an impact. I feel like he's been around more than he actually has, and he's still picked up 5 attacking returns in that time, James. So he will always
three of
them
against Aston Villa, by the way.
Yeah, that's true. Yesterday was it not just? It's just 1 goal and 1 assist.
He scored twice against them in like Gameweek 4, didn't he?
Did he? Right. Yeah, true. That was Aston Villa of old under Dean Smith, obviously. I'm not sure when I'll go back to Lukaku, but I do think that at some point this season I will definitely be owning him again. After about game week 26, they have a great run up until about 34, and that's when we'll look at him again. Villa obviously blank this week. I still own Ollie Watkins. I may move off him,
They've got great fixtures, You have to be conscious of this when you've got, say, compare Villa with Arsenal, right? There's probably listeners there who've got, say, Watkins and this might have Watkins and Lacazette at the moment. I'm sure someone probably has. Which one are you selling? Straightforward for me, definitely Lacazette, in spite of Arsenal's good form. Villa have a brilliant run of fixtures. United at home 22, highly likely to be probably a double game week for them. Brentford away before that. Everton after, Leeds, Newcastle, Watford, Brighton, Southampton. Really good run of fixtures. Really good run. And to be honest, had Villa Leeds been on, I think people would have been steaming back into him again this week because of what's to come afterwards. You go, that's one less problem for me to think about for 7-8 game weeks. He can sit there because the forwards of that value just like a struggle at the moment. It might be that we've come all full circle and it's going to be Antonio's run again now, just as everyone sells the geezer. I wouldn't look at anything else on them. I mean, you're not buying now anyway because I haven't got a fixture. I really like Matty Cash. I don't think the value is justifiable versus Kieran Tierney, for example, on the other side of the weekend. So I wouldn't make that sideways move. Ramsey's very good option at 4.6. Shout out for Dewsbury Hall, by the way, at Leicester, who's 4.4 and is beginning to play every week. He's the next one who, if I was wildcarding now, Dewsbury Hall, I think I'd be going in at 4.4. I'm not concerned about the prospect of Watkins playing wide. I still think he can get plenty of returns.
Yeah, me too. He seems full of energy at the moment.
If you're on Watkins, there'll be plenty of listeners that are, just before you fire him out your team, just have a second look ahead at their fixtures over the next number of weeks because you may not want to be in, actually. Just on Chelsea, Kante, Thiago Silva obviously limped off yesterday as well. If they're out for a while, that's got Lukaku back, but you got 2 big blows out. They are not the same team without Kante. No,
agreed. Let's talk about Brighton 2, Brentford 0. Brighton finally breaking this long run of not winning any games. And they're back up to 9th.
Yeah, didn't take much to win a game to keep top half, does it? 1 win in 10. That's all you need to be top half Premier League. Yeah, deserved win as well. I know that they had a few dodgy moments second half. Sanchez made a couple of good saves and stuff. Yeah, they were good. And I said to you, I really fancied them to get the victory in this particular one. Brentford not in the best place at the moment with a few injuries as well. I know Tom Med, our Brentford correspondent, was he's not really looking forward to the fact they're playing Man City on Wednesday.
Yeah.
He's fearing the worst, which is understandable at the moment. And Bumo limped off. So, I mean, if somehow you're still sitting there with him, good time to move it on. I think Tony, not in consideration for me. I mean, we've got City twice and Liverpool in the next 5 fixtures. Someone's been cruel to them. Again, afterwards, they're another one from 25 that look like might have a good set of fixtures. Defensively, it's beginning to shambles in the sense that like Charlie Good had actually been playing not too badly the last 3-4 game weeks or so. He's now got a hamstring injury. Obviously, Henry missed out yesterday with a tight hamstring as well. We're not sure on the status of that in terms of if that's likely to keep him out for a sustained period or not. He had a very bad hamstring injury last year in the Championship, so I suspect they'll probably be quite cautious with Rico Henry. I'm worried about them.
You think a slide down the table is potentially on the cards?
I don't think that they'll go down. Like I think, but I just wonder if the momentum and teams kind of clocking on to how they play a little bit is beginning to kick in. And I think the next 2 home games they've got is Villa at home and Wolves at home, 21-23. Now, they both look like quite difficult games at the moment, actually. They could easily lose both of them 1-0, for example. Suddenly then you're looking at a position where they've lost like 7 games in a row or something, and you think, oh, the other team's going to pick up points during that period. And they'll begin to suddenly it can become what they're on 20 points.
Brentford at the moment are on 20. Directly below them, you've got Southampton also on 20, Everton on 19. Now, both Southampton and Everton, you'd think they're going to be fine.
How many games they played?
Points. So Brentford 17, Southampton 18, Everton 17, followed by Leeds 18 games, 16 points.
Anybody who's above the point per game line is in quite a comfortable position. My theory is for Brentford that they're about to go into a period where they might be about to fall below it, where suddenly it becomes 20 points from 22. And once you're at that sort of stage, you begin to look over your shoulder. Because the likes of Watford have got Newcastle and Norwich during that period. They're playing against a weakened West Ham tomorrow, capable of giving Tottenham trouble at the weekend. Suddenly, Watford might put some results together. Newcastle might spend a couple of £100 million. And suddenly you're looking over your shoulder quite quickly. Burnley have got how many games in hand?
They've only played 15 games.
I'm conscious of them. Brighton, shout out to my man on YouTube, who's always in asking about Neil Maupay. I haven't seen him for a couple of months. I was quite disappointed yesterday because I said I'd throw him in on a free hit, actually. It took his goal really well. I think Leandro Trossard is worth consistently maintaining the look on at the moment. And possibly as quickly as after game week 20, because actually Brighton have a nice run of fixtures themselves from 21 to 28. There is admittedly a blank in there, 24, when they're meant to play Chelsea, but we can probably expect at least one double from them over this period as well. Leandro Trossard's on radar. Duffy missed out, and Potter's words, Potter said, we've got some COVID issues and we've got some injury issues, and Duffy falls into the line of that. But which fucking line was it, mate? It really wasn't. Because he said it immediately after injuries. I thought he meant maybe it was injuries, but it wasn't clear if he was just grouping injuries and COVID together and throwing Duffy in there, and it didn't mean anything. Because at 4.1, it should be really interesting. But Dunk's targeting a return in mid-January. Veltman missed out yesterday. He's another one to compete with. Webster came back in, and I thought he largely did quite well. And so it probably means you've gone back to circle to looking at Tyrek Lamptey again. And I may well, I think, after this Chelsea fixture, consider Tyrek Lamptey. Once we're getting into a stage where there's more cup games and stuff, and actually the majority of teams like Brighton are going to play once a week, he's had enough games now where I think he's worth a real look, irrespective of whether it's back 4 or back 3. He gives me a bit of Brighton defensive coverage. So Tyrek Lamptey's right on radar, and so's Trossard at the moment. Maupay, nah, I can't stand a geezer, mate. put him and Wilfred Zaha in a room together, mate. In fact, do that. Brighton v Palace in a couple of weeks. Game week 22. I want to see that interview. Get them both on a chair, face off. You know, like they did with the boxing fights.
Yeah.
Maupay and Zaha. Yeah, that's what I want to see. Yeah.
And there we go. Only 6 games to wrap up there. We've obviously still got Newcastle, Manchester United this evening that we'll probably end up talking a little bit about tomorrow. James, do you want to give everybody a rundown of what they've got to look forward to for the rest of this week?
Yeah, we won't be talking about it tomorrow because I'm watching multiple football tomorrow.
Yeah. And I will then pick out some questions that we've had on Twitter to wrap up this episode.
Okie dokie. No podcast from us tomorrow. Can't see the point with a deadline. It's basically like a Saturday, isn't it? And there's wall-to-wall football all day. So Wednesday, Sky Fantasy Football podcast. No clash of the correspondence this week. Just doesn't work, unfortunately. So Tom Campbell, Suj at Utley TC, is hosting our big fat quiz of 2021 on Thursday. Friday, we'll be doing this again to review all the Game Week 20 games. Our Patreon podcast this week. No Q&A this week. We'll be doing our Game Week 20 preview today. I'll have the team news stream for the advanced and intermediate tiers tomorrow. There will be a deadline stream for everyone on YouTube tomorrow, by the way. Wednesday, Tottenham. It could be very interesting if you have a bad result tomorrow, mate, and we have another good one. Fingers crossed. Thursday, we've got... I can't remember what we've got on Thursday, so it'll come to me. Friday's a Game Week 21 preview. What are we doing on Thursday this week? There's no quiz.
I'm putting up the schedule right in front of me.
Can you put it up? I can't remember.
It's loading. It's taking its sweet time.
What are we doing on Thursday?
Big fat quiz, additional podcast with patrons. Ask James.
Oh yeah, that's what I can't remember. I'm doing the lonesome for the patrons. Yeah, I'm going to do that on Patreon this week.
Lovely. Excellent. If you want to join our Patreon community, then head over to patreon.com/Planet FPL, Slack channel, prize leagues, and a whole host more for you there. Yeah, James, I've got some questions up here from Twitter, and some of them are pretty straightforward. I mean, there's a question aimed at you here that even I could answer. It says, James, if you could take any, this is from Pep Talk, if you could take any West Ham player in January and put them straight into the Spurs team for the rest of the season, who would it be and who would they replace?
Jeez.
Declan Rice for Højbjerg, probably.
It's about the easiest question I've been asked in 2021. Yes, 100% would be Declan Rice.
And it's just the exact same question to Suj. Which Spurs player would be best for the Hammers right now and who would drop out? That's also actually ridiculously easy. I'd say Harry Kane.
It's Harry. Oh, it's not ridiculously easy. I think he's going to say Sonny.
It's a tough call actually, because to play Harry Kane we'd have to drop Antonio. So would I rather get Sonny and maybe drop Benrahma or Fornals and keep Antonio, or would I rather get Kane?
Do you think Eric Dyer would improve your team at the moment?
Any centre back would improve our team at the moment. Both Dawson and Diop are struggling.
He's been absolutely brilliant last couple of months, Eric Dyer. And by the way, Davinson Sanchez was really good again yesterday. Danny surprises no one more than myself that I'm saying that.
Danny Mack, what's your views on hits? Ignoring the free hit, do they work? And do we all need to calm down? I feel like we could justify a -4, -8 every week at the moment, but that isn't sustainable. Or is it? What's the play?
And Højbjerg was good. And Ollie Skip was fantastic as well. Right, sorry, question, free hits. So my view on it was, I came to the conclusion, Suj, that even if I was down to 5 players, I wasn't going to free hit. That was the conclusion that I came to.
How many points hits were you willing to take?
8 at that stage. Yeah, at that stage, I'd have gone Son, Ronaldo, and forced something else in for a -8. -12, no. -8, perfectly justifiable to get Son, Ronaldo, and another player for players who wouldn't have a fixture, I think. Especially when you know that, I mean, Son's repaid it double over just by sticking the armband on him, isn't he? Yep. Effectively. If I hadn't bought him, I'd have captain Cancelo actually this week. Excuse me. So my basis on that was that I think there will be better opportunities. I think the free hit chip is so undervalued in terms of its capability. So when I compare it to the other chips, I think, right, what do I want from a triple captain? And people go, oh, I want 15 times 3. Okay. So you want 15 extra points. It's not 45 points. It's 15 extra points.
Yeah.
If you get anything more than that, fair fucks, right? The chances are you get one return, you get an extra 6-8 points or something. Great. Thanks very much. Brilliant. Bench boost, 16 points is always where I put the bar at, just purely that if I've got my 4 worst players on the bench and I've got 2 fixtures and none of them return, 2 times 8, 16.
Correct.
The free hit, I want 30 plus extra points from that. And I couldn't see personally that if I say lost the Villa-Chelsea game and the Norwich-Arsenal game, which would have left me with 5 yesterday, I couldn't see where I was going to go that was going to guarantee me that. Now, that might be psychological as well, because I'd have gone, well, I'm going treble Spurs. And guess what? The treble Spurs of Son, Kane, and I probably would have gone probably for Reguilon, would have basically done the business and basically covered it off. But other than that, okay, yeah, I could have got Ronaldo in as well. What else would I have been that fussed about to get? Steaming into Brighton, I probably would have gone double or treble Brighton and it would have worked out fine. But was I in love with it? No. So admittedly, had I been down to 5 players, I probably would have then been at a position that I should have free hit. As it stands, I'm on what am I on, Suj? 54 minus 4 or something.
Yep.
And admittedly, I don't have Ronaldo. Sorry, 56 minus 4. And I've got De Gea and Dalot, who I think Dalot might get left out tonight personally, but potentially 2 to go. If United keep a clean sheet and they both play, I'm suddenly looking at like 70 minus 4. All 11 players started. It was never a concern. If I'd gone down to 8, what was I really gaining? Really? So I didn't think it was worth it. I think game week 30 might not be as bad as what we think, which is the FA Cup quarter-final weekend. Now, last year, we only had 4 fixtures take place. And of course, that covers you off problem. You make sure you get the best captain that game week. You pick 10 other players. Brilliant. Fantastic. But because of the sheer volume of games that have got to be rearranged, there are now 19 games that need to be rearranged. That's 2 whole bloody game weeks.
Yep.
Somewhere in this season, we're going to have something like Southampton v Brentford, West Ham v Norwich, and Leeds versus Aston Villa all end up, I think, in like something random, like game week 26 or something. And I want to be able to free hit all those players in who've got doubles and stuff.
Yep.
That's what I want to be able to do. So again, similar position for me tomorrow. At the moment, I've got 11 players. There are certain fixtures that could really obviously hurt me if they're off. United, obviously, although I probably wouldn't have the information even if it was. Watford, West Ham with like King and Bowen, losing them from that fixture. Suddenly is going to make my team look weak. If Liverpool's off again, I'm losing treble Liverpool. So those 2 games, Watford and West Ham off and Liverpool off, will put me down to 6 players. I still don't think I'd free hit, Suj.
Honestly. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm in preference of saving it for an aggressive use of it when we've got a double game week. But hits, I think, are still okay. 4s, 8s.
At the moment on hits, basically, if you take the minus 4 to get the players playing in, I mean, the chances are 2 points twice over is paying for the hit, right? If you do nothing, fine, it's 0. If they both blank and get you 2 points each for the minus 4, it's still nothing. So I'd rather be aggressive in that situation and always take a minus 4 to get players in who have a fixture rather than players who don't. So if this just keeps happening every week, honestly, I'll be taking a minus 4 every single week as a minimum because it's working. It's completely justifiable to do it. So, of course, it's not justifiable forever, although many people would swear by taking hits. I'm sure it was someone in the last season finished top 100 or something that took like 200 points in hits or something like that. So like it can be done. It's just down to aggressive nature. So I think at the moment, completely justifiable to be taking minus 4s and minus 8s in many situations. That yesterday, there was loads of people who wanted like Ronaldo, Son and Bowen yesterday. And we're getting the 3 of them in for like Salah, non-playing forward, non-playing midfield. 100%. Get those 3 players in for a minus 8. Even if you didn't captain them, you've got Son and Bowen's got you 12 and you still got Ronaldo to go. Absolutely worth it in many circumstances. I would always spin the wheel on taking that if it's getting players in for players who are not playing.
Agreed. And last but not least for this episode, James, so that people can get into tinkering, is a question coming in from Matt Higgs. Have you ever spotted yourself on match of the day before or on telly at a football game?
Yeah, a few times. But I'm quite short, but I can jump quite high.
Seen celebrating goals in the background.
Yeah.
The one time I got
really.
snapped.
There's a few times where I've been absolutely certain that I'm definitely going to be on match of the day tonight. I know it. Nope, not there.
Yeah, I made it on once. I remember with Jamie FPL Potter took a screenshot of it when the Man United game, the first game with fans back at the London Stadium, 2,000 of us. I was on telly then, but never celebrating a goal or anything like that. Not match of the day, but I probably haven't been going enough. Whereas James, obviously, you've been going for 30 years.
When I told you it was a Boxing Day fixture, the clearest one I remember was played Watford Boxing Day. I think it was 99. Pissing all over him. Ginola's having a worldie, right? And the football mindset was very different then to what it is now. So anyway, George Graham takes Ginola off with like 20 minutes to go, even though we're winning 3-0. You'd think save him for the game in 3 days. Nah, listen, if Ginola weren't on the pitch, there was no fucking point being there, right? Half the ground lost its fucking mind that he took Ginola off. And my dad's all over match of the day losing his shit. And I'm just standing there next to him going, like, you're right, mate. That was the clearest one we had. 3-0 up. I'm moaning, yeah. Now, like yesterday, obviously took Kane off half hour ago. You just go, yeah, save him for Tuesday. Yeah.
And there we go. Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in and all of your support. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen. iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and all of those other platforms as well. James will be back at you tomorrow with a deadline stream. And of course, Sky Fantasy Football on Wednesday. I'm up 2,000 places in that, James.
Yes, Suj.
Having a worldie. So, stay tuned on Wednesday for more on that. And other than that, of course, stay safe. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Be nice to each other. Good luck this game week. Cue music, please, man, child.